Anybody else ever get mystery bruises and injuries? In this riveting video, we're going to make cabinets. Going to go through the process how I make my cabinets, and these are specifically shop cabinets as my ongoing improvements to my shop. So in the shop, I've got a bunch of stuff, and to make this into the dream shop that I want, I got to get that stuff into cabinets. And what we're going to do first is we've got to prep these walls to take cabinets. And that's going to include running some girts and then doing some insulation and then using this big old pile of 1x that I have that I got for cheap here locally. And I'm just going to cover all the walls all the way around. It's going to give it a really rustic look.
So I painstakingly put some 1x6 that were only 2 foot long on this side. And on the other side I had 1x4 that was 4 foot long. Here's finished. Didn't put 1x where there was cabinets going to be installed. Since I don't have my CNC, I use my cabinet calculator program to make my cut list. Also gives me my drawer openings and actually my drawer sizes as well. That's another video. First process is making all my ribs, and I calculate that through my cabinet calculator, and here you can see a big old stack of them. Then I cut them all to size. I am all about building parts ahead of time. Getting all my parts made, getting a process, stacking them on a cart, and then I'm going to go ahead and label each one of these as to exactly which part it is, and checking them off the list when I get them done. Soon as my parts are done, I send them through the bander, which this is not a high-end bander, but this is a nice bander. And like everything else, I grade the process, I arrange stacks, and then I send it through the trimmer. It's not a high-end trimmer, but it's a nice trimmer. Sure do miss my CNC. I have to manually cut out all the toe kicks. Well, when the toe kicks are done, I take it over to the router table and I do a drop cut dado on my router table. From this side, we have to do the drop cut, and then we can go all the way through to the back. And then from the other side, we come from the back all the way through, and then we have to stop. We've got to jiggle first, and then we have to stop right here at this little mark. And here it is done. Top and bottom parts need this little relief cut to make the blind dado. And we just flip it over and we do both sides. Same depth. Hardest dado to make was on the tall, 8 foot tall cabinets. And we used a 1/2 inch bit and manually set up a couple guides. Had to do this twice because it's only a 1/2 inch bit, and we got a 3/4 inch dado that we're making. Use a tennis piece, and look at that, we're perfect.
You may notice that these dados aren't that deep. They're just a little 1/8 inch, which I think is plenty just to hold this in place and everything. And the reason why I do that is so that if I don't want to have exposed screws on the outside, that way I can still use pocket holes and it won't come all the way through if I use the short pocket hole screws. You can make these any depth that you want.
I'm not a buyer of jigs, but I'm a maker of jigs, and I made this jig so that I could install all my drawer guides. I installed my drawer guides before I put the cabinet together. A lot easier, a lot more accessible. Like everything else, I make a process to put it together. Great camera work here. Get a temporary screw, draw a line because I don't trust myself. Make my pre-drills and screw it together. Ignore that extra toe kick on the backside. I did full tops on these because I wasn't sure when I was going to put my permanent top in. But you can see how that dado fits right there. Just clamp, help myself, and then with this really pathetic left arm, try and screw this thing. Forget it. That's the 4 surgeries left arm, so we got to spin it around so we can use our right arm. I got used to pre-drilling because that's what my CNC would do for me and lines up the screws perfect. And then you carefully lay it on its face, and this is a pretty crucial part. These backs are what's really critical to make this thing square. if it's not square, the doors and drawers just aren't going to fit. So I line up one side, spin it around. You can see here I had to flex a little bit to get it lined up, and then I just nail it off. And once you have 2, even 3 sides done, that's it, it's not moving. And we just go ahead and nail it off. These are little 1/2-inch staples. Since we have all of this cool solid 1x, we're going to use that as our nailers. That'll make it a little bit stronger actually. And we pre-drilled just like everything else. 1 30-inch box, 2 30-inch box, 3 30-inch boxes, and 4 30-inch boxes. Oh, this is a really fun part. I use my Craig jig and I put this little cleat on here to help me with the measurement inside. And I tried to do the math on this, but I think I made close to 284 shelf pinholes. Yeah, enough already. Let's look at something else. You know what? My hinges. Let's look at hinges. And I installed those as well before I put it together. And mine's got a little adjustment screw on it. And there's an arrow. And make sure that arrow is pointing the right way. Oh, that's how we adjust it. Makes it real nice. Makes up for a lot of sins. We just tap them in and screw them in place. A lot more accessible when it's not all built. All cabinets go together pretty much the same way as a big box, just a little more difficult to handle. Especially when there's a little shelf in here. And finally I decided, well, you know, I'll tack it. And I made a jig instead of drawing a pencil line. I think this cool assembly table I have might be a little bit too tall for us not so tall guys. Again, took some measurements and pre-drilled them so I wouldn't have any shiners. This is gonna figure out exactly where the balance point is to get this thing to stand up easily. So installing is the key. I use a laser and I check it for level. And then I screw at least one screw in, then I check it for level and plumb again and screw it off. Double check and we're good. Now that we have the one cabinet where it needs to be, I go ahead and clamp and screw up all the cabinets and line them up on their faces and their tops without getting distracted by the dog. Go ahead and shim it up to the laser line. Make sure it's the right height all across the face, all the way across. And once it's all plumb and level, I screw it off. Not over tightening so we lose our heights. Now that we got our bases where we need them, I'm going to put this big old wall cabinet in there and do the same thing with that. Check it for plumb, and my props to my concrete guy. This floor is really level. And it's the same process for installing all these, except you got to use a little bit of bigger hammer to get it up against the wall. Once I knew it was plumb, used the laser as well, and screwed it off all into place. Drawer parts. Let's make some drawers. We're gonna pocket hole. Can't get this pocket hole cutter anymore. Saw Norm use it years ago. And we're gonna put a dado in for the bottoms.
Let's stop here in the middle of this video and talk about something. I would never make drawers like this for in a custom kitchen or a bathroom vanity or anything like that. But I would do it in my shop all day long. My shop, maybe not your shop. I've done this before and I've never had any problems. The problem I'm having now is that this plywood that I've got that I spent a lot of money on, that I went to a plywood supply house rather than just to, the big box store to get some quality plywood. And I've had problems with it ever since I started using it. The cuts ended up a little fuzzy, which made it a little more difficult to edge band, and the edge banding didn't come out as clean. When I go to do these pocket holes and put these in, there's hollow spots in whatever the ply is in here. It's not real substantial, and pocket holes don't bite like they should. So since I've already got all these boxes and all these drawer parts cut and everything, I'm going to have to adapt and overcome. And what I'm going to do is put a screw in the side like this, which kind of sucks and won't look as good, but it is in the shop. That's the back. It's not the end of the world. You probably never see it, but still I'm pretty disappointed. So if anybody out there discovers the easiest way to put a drawer together, let me know, because it's always fun. I'm just going to tack them together real quick and then put a pocket screw in them.
Huh. Guess I lost my soundtrack. But here, let me do.
So with this plywood, since it's not the best quality, I went with just using regular screws instead of pocket hole screws. And I'm seeming to get in the bite with those just fine, so I won't have to put a screw in from the side.
And the belly thrust method.
One thing that you need to do is when you put these bottoms on, make sure you have the same reveal all the way across. And that makes this drawer box square, because if it's not square, it's not going to fit in that space down in the cabinet.
By removing the dado on the back piece, you can just screw the bottom in and makes it really easy to replace. Normally when I install these guides, it just go flat on the bottom, but I need a little more space at the top, so I put a little 1/4 inch spacer in here. Since they were square, they fit and installed really easily, and they slid very easily. All of them. Boom. Drawers installed, shelves installed, boxes done.
So that's it for the building of all the boxes. Got my drawers in, I can start putting stuff away. Now, I've got to make the doors and drawer faces. That's going to be much more of a process, and we'll make a separate video just for that. So thanks for watching. If you get a chance, subscribe and watch these videos. I'll see you real soon.